So for people who don't know, so what's the elevator pitch for Shining Vale?
So this was back when
because you keep saying drama, and I think it's
very comedy, but it is it's horror. It's a horror comedy. You know, Sharon Horgan. The reason I did it was because I had a deal at Warner Brothers where I've been most of my career, and where my script is still open to that page. The last 20 years. And I was doing
with your creamer.
Yes, with my creamer.
Your radioactive creamer.
The evergreen script and creamer. So I was doing season 2 of Trial and Error up in Vancouver. And I was sure, because I was able to cut this budget down from, I think, 1.8 to 1.3 an episode, which is, again, you know, like...
For Shining Vale?
No.
Oh,
No, Shining Vale is a multiple of that.
Right, okay.
But for Trial and Error, we were able to get it down to 1.3 an episode, which is, you know, and... you could buy all of Croatia for that. All of European television for that.
You know how many gift cards? You know how many people could watch Trial and Error for that amount?
Too soon. So, and they were like, we want you to do, and I'm up in Vancouver, like writing the finale, shooting it. And they're like, you need to come up with another show. I'm like, I have no ideas. Like, unless it's a story of a guy who goes crazy by shooting a show, like I'm not going to, so I'm like, I'll just hear other people's pitches. Cause I was 100% sure as I was, is that I would create the next Friends by leaving Friends. Spoiler alert, I didn't. I'm here right now in my friend's back house. I don't even see a light on this camera. I don't think.
We're not even recording. Shawnee just needed you out of the house for a little bit.
I'm blinking my escape. So I went and this producer, Aaron Kaplan, said, you know, he pitched me a bunch of stuff, including a Holocaust comedy. It was really too soon. Yeah, I promise you. Oh. And a friend of mine's looking into that. I was like, I can't. I think
it's called Hogan's Heroes.
It was even, no, I don't know, maybe. But the Holocom. So then he said, well, Sharon Horgan has a project. I was like, go on. And he said she wants to do like a comedian. Because I said I only want to do genre bending. Trial and Error was like a genre bending show. And I was like, that's what I want my brand to be. I had seen a movie after I did Trial and Error called What We Do in the Shadows. And I was like, what if we do that as a TV show? They're like, what? That's insane. Anyway.
Yeah. Needless to say.
5 Emmys later. Like, man, I mean, this is just failure television here. Bottom Dwellers. We'll be back with Bottom Dwellers after this. So Sharon's like, I want to do The Shining, but as a comedy. And I was like, I'm in. And then I spoke to her on the phone. It was just really cool to speak to her on the phone. She said, can you do comedy and horror together? She said, anytime I'd watched a horror movie that tries to be funny, it's usually, if it's really scary, it's not funny. If it's really funny, it's not scary. And what shows do you think?
A TV show or movie? Shaun of the Dead?
Shaun of the Dead. Okay, so Shaun of the Dead is, and I wanted Edgar Wright to direct it. So Shaun of the Dead isn't super scary though, and it's there's scary moments for sure, but I think that is an exception. Certainly in TV, it doesn't exist. Okay. And this is a different feel in Shaun of the Dead. Shaun of the Dead is more like satire. I love Shaun of the Dead. I love Edgar Wright. We looked into him for this. It didn't happen. And we had a great director anyway, Dervla Walsh. But so she said, can the two coexist as a sitcom? And she said, I want to do a sitcom that makes you shit your pants. She called it a shitcom. And I said, and I thought for a second, I said, yes. I said, because I'm not a huge horror maven, but I know that whenever you watch a horror movie and you scream, you laugh right afterwards. So it's like, oh, it's the same continuum. And I've just been telling jokes for so long and I want like a new way to tell a joke. I was like, oh, you're just surprising the audience in a different way. But she said, like, how do you do it with pace? And I said, you write it like you'd write it like a character-driven comedy, but you shoot it like a horror. And I said, I really think I could do this. Just hold on. And I sat down and I wrote what would be the final scene of the show.
Final scene of like the last episode?
No, the final scene of the pilot.
Okay.
Where she goes out in the woods. You've seen the pilot. And I wrote that final scene. I said, this is how you do it. And it didn't know. I knew I had to write to that, and I was like, this is how you do it. I said, this is a setup, and it just like was in real time. I wrote it. I sent it to her. She said, it's all yours. And then, and it was great. And the thing that she had that she found, the thing that I really loved about it, because I love doing stuff about something, and this is about mental illness. And she had found this statistic that women are more than twice as likely as men to be possessed and depressed, and the symptoms are.
And that's just in your family.
Yes, and by the way, more. Yeah, both. But the symptoms are exactly the same. And I said, oh, that's so much fun. You know, it just puts you on edge. And it was really, really fun. And it was the learning curve was so steep for me to write horror. Like,
yeah, I was curious about that because it's like, did that slow the process down in any like writing, shooting, editing?
Yeah,
like
well,
you're learning a new language, really.
It was really a different language. So in terms of the pilot, like I remember working with Sharon, who's very, very, very direct, and Sharon is wonderful, 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 but she's very, very direct. She does not have, I don't know how she's a writer because she's so, I mean, I guess she's Irish, which comes in with built-in kind of stuff. Like
directness.
But yes, but it was just like, she's like, oh, you're really going to do that? It sounds like, Terry sounds like such a twat there. I'm like, I don't think you can say that. And like, but twat is like the word like shalom.
Right.
Like it's for everything. It's
right.
a universal word there. Aloha. And she's like, oh, you can do a callback. I was like, I built my house on callbacks, miss. It's like, you're really going to do a callback here? I'm like, I guess not. So she really, really honed my writing that no jokes. Like, she's like, no jokes. I'm like, how's it funny if you can't write jokes? So it was like all character stuff. So it really was hard. And then the first draft of the show was just a bloodbath. And she said,
I mean, like from network notes, or
no, literal. I wrote scenes. No, it wasn't like, wow, this is terrible. No.
Yeah, and it's like, oh my god, look at all these notes we're getting, and it's a bloodbath. It's
no, it wasn't. It was just a literal bloodbath. I literally had a bloodbath
as much as we need.
Yes, exactly. I actually did a bloodbath scene in the show in episode 4, I think. That's funny. I didn't realize that, but there was a bloody bath. But and it was just like every room was like The Shining, like the elevator doors open, there's blood splatter, and she was seeing things and jump scares. And Sharon just wrote back. She said, "There's so much horror that there's no horror."
Whoa,
and
that's a great note.
Yeah, it was a great note. And she said, it's like so much that there's nothing. Like she said, like if you're constantly jumping, then you're not jumping. Like you have to build to it. So there's like, I think in the pilot, there's maybe 3 scares in the pilot, which is a lot for 30 minutes. And
where did she get her like horror chops from?
She doesn't. She just has an unbelievable ability to do storytelling and to do characters. And her pages, I also found when I went back into, the Lost Office, the preservation of Office, and Amber was like, I found her original notes on the show, and she had written like 5 or 9 pages on it. And the characters, I was just trying to think like, what did I contribute to this process? Right. And her characters were slightly different. She had a lot of it, but it was like I brought. Sharon has I think a much darker sensibility. I think that comes with her directness. And like, I think for me, like I wanted to be, and I never wanted this show to go. It was just a pain in the ass for me because it was very, very hard to write it. And it was just like, and I was like, I'm always going to be second fiddle. And if you read the article about me and Friends, you see that's not a comfortable position for me. I like lead cello. And it's like Sharon had a big name on it. And even though she's like, this is all yours, she was giving me notes in a very, very direct, very, very constructive, but direct way. And it's like, I don't need this. I have trial and error. That's going to come back. And that didn't come back. So then I developed this other show, which was a pure comedy where I was the boss.
Right.
That didn't go. And I'm like, just funneled into the show. And I'm just like, it's just hard. It was just really hard because I had to learn new language. The only person who had any horror experience on the show was our editor. And he did like the Grudge movies and like he really explained like one thing's like, he said on a jump scare, you never cut to a jump scare. Like it has to be like revealed. So I didn't know that. You never cut to it. It's like it's revealed.
It's there in the frame and then...
Yeah, you have to just however you reveal it, but you can't cut to it. And it's not... And we had some things that were like sound scares. And he said, that's bullshit. Our audience is not going to... He goes, I'll put it in. I remember one time the editor who had never done horror either, she... Beautiful, beautiful work. She did not
the editor, the director.
No, the director. I'm sorry, the director who did *Handmaid's Tale* and Fargo. She was the first woman director of Fargo. She directed like entire whatever the 4th season or something, and beautiful, beautiful directing. And we had this one scare, and it was just it wasn't shot to be a scare, so we put in sound. And he's like, he said the audience is not going to buy that. You're just throwing in every instrument you have. Like it's not like, and what I learned afterwards, because I had one of my writers, my horror writer said that like, and this is what I love about the show, said in horror, you shoot for you have to scare your most sophisticated audience. Whereas comedy, you play for the lowest common denominator, whoever's going to get
interesting. I've never heard that.
Yes. And she said that like, so you have to fool you have to write it to fool your most sophisticated audience. Whereas in comedy, you write it for the lowbrow. Everybody likes lowbrow humor. And I got,
that's why I'm doing this podcast.
Yes, here we go. Welcome to it. Bottom of the barrel. Be back after these words. So it's really a challenge. I probably did, and I probably wrote at least 6 or 7 drafts of every single outline, and then another 7 or 8 drafts of every draft before it came to the table.
Hi, I'm Jeff Schechter, and this is the Writers Room Pros podcast. Make sure you subscribe, you ring that bell so you don't miss any conversations we have with writers, producers, directors, composers, actors, everybody involved in the business of storytelling. Also, make sure you follow us on Instagram at WritersRoom Pro.
But this is like STARZ has been like really wonderful. I got really the first 6 table reads. After the pilot, I didn't get any notes.
Wow.
I know, it was amazing. And then of course in the 8th episode, which I thought was perfect, and they gave me notes, and I was like, what?
Yeah. Apparently what happened was STARZ was having a cyst removed from its back.
And it
went to the lab, and they were actually much more worried.
And that cyst, Stitcher season 4. We'll be back after these.
Too soon.
Yes, but anyway, I love it. It's very fun. I hope people really. The performances are great. Again, casting is everything. Right. Casting is 100%.
It's Courteney Cox, Greg Kinnear.
It's Courteney Cox, Greg Kinnear, Mira Sorvino, this wonderful young actress named Gus Burney, this guy Dylan Gage, who was in Pen 15. Marin Dungy, who is not known for her comedy. I guess she did King of Queens and stuff, but mostly drama. She's done drama, and just like Alicia Reiner, who was in Orange is the New Black. Rob Morrow is in it.
Geez. I didn't know Rob Morrow was in it.
Yeah, Rob Morrow's in it. And it's really fun also because it's a lot of the people are of in their 50s, and especially for women. Courteney Cox actually got the script and called me and said, I have to do this. And I was like, wow, that's really, like, she wasn't even.
Had you worked with her since Friends?
No, I barely worked with her on Friends. I mean, it's like, as you
it
was low, right?
Lowly.
No, but she was like, she was very, very quiet on Friends. She was like, it took a while for us to find her character. She, we had like on Friends, you had like Chandler and, you had Matthew Perry and Lisa Kudrow, who were just so rapid fire with jokes, and you always went to them for jokes. And Schwimmer was Schwimmer. He was like a new thing people hadn't seen. Jen Addison. So Courteney kind of got lost a little bit in the shuffle. And the stuff we gave her was like very, very, more easy stuff of, she's a neat freak. She's a type A personality. Right. She used to be fat, which you can't say
Season
anymore.
1 and 2 stuff.
Season 1 and 2 stuff, but no, it was stuff like, well, let's try this on her. And by the way, Courteney is so talented and so hardworking in this. She's great. And she told me, she said, I've never had something written for me before, and I really need to do this. And I was like, well, I'm not going to say no to that.
You didn't write it specifically for her.
No, I didn't write it for her at all.
But it felt to her like.
I didn't. In fact, the reason she wasn't on our radar was because she had done Scream. And we just thought, and she just had never done anything like this. We thought, okay, so Scream, we've seen what she could do with horror, and Scream it's very, very heightened, obviously super successful, but it's Scream is I guess it's kind of, people say, it's like a comedy, I guess, of sorts, horror, but it's really
it's an homage.
It's a satire a little bit. Yeah. It's not quite a spoof, but it just wasn't the same genre as this. No. And also she's like, again, it's like not a thankless role. It's probably, she's done quite well for herself. But, this story is like, she's the lead in this. She's in 38 episodes a show. 38 seasons. 38 scenes
right.
in an episode. Yeah. And she has to play so much, and we do so much. And she's like either depressed or possessed. And she's, and she's playing a woman who's going through menopause. And like she said, like, people don't write that. Like, certainly women don't write it because they don't want to deal with it. Every woman is trying to be younger, and guys don't write it because guy's not going to write it. So you need a half guy, half menopausal woman to do it. And ladies and gentlemen,
my friend,
yes,
Jeff Astrof.
Here we go. And there were actresses who didn't. Well, there was one actress, a younger actress, who we offered the part, and she was like, "Well, I would take out the menopause stuff. No woman's going to play menopause, and I don't want to have a teenage girl, and I need to be more jokey, but I'll do it." And I'm like,
and just that Astrof fella have to be involved.
By the way, I did not want to be involved. I'm texting Sharon. I'm like, this is a disaster. No way. But this is someone that they wanted, and she was a name. And then Courteney called, and then I remember we were just like, do you think Courteney can do it? Because I had never seen Courteney do anything like dramatic. And man, oh man, can she ever.